From the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Pod's Moving and Storage Studio, it's The Ramsey Show, where we help people build wealth, do work that they love, and create actual amazing relationships. I'm Christina Ellis, Ramsey personality, joined today by my friend and fellow Ramsey personality, Rachel Cruz. We're taking your calls at 888-825-5225. Give us a call and let's chat. Let's go to the phones. First up, we have Caden calling from Nashville, Tennessee. Hey, Caden, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for calling. How can we help?
So I had a question about the most efficient way to try to pay off your home early. I've heard you guys take questions before about investing versus paying down the mortgage, and I'm really kind of thinking to be able to take advantage of that extra percentage you would get by investing, but then still earmarking it to pay off your home early. So, take that, invest in a brokerage account, let it grow. When that reaches the amount of the principal left, kind of take it out and pay off the house in one strike, basically, to try to take advantage of the math there, but still the principle behind paying off your home early. And I was just wondering what you guys' thoughts on that were.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And yeah, I mean, you would have to just assume that the math is going to work for you, because when you're investing for a long period of time, right? So, I mean, I always say to be in there for at least 5 years to consider it investing. And so if there is cash that you have that can be thrown at the mortgage, though, your principal goes down and you're going to be paying, as you keep going, less and less with all the interests and everything. So I like the efficiency of not holding it in an account, hoping that you time the market right when you need to take it out. Because if you were prepped on paying off your house in 2022, you wouldn't want to take your money out because you're like, oh my gosh, the market's down. I'm gonna have to wait till it recovers in order to continue my financial plan. So I would rather you just put it towards your mortgage as you go and then leave investing for retirement and for long-term savings versus using it as a middleman before paying off the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Caden, how old are you?
I'm 24.
You sounded young, and I love that you're even calling and asking this question, because it's like to be that motivated and inspired early on is amazing. And if you pay off your house, just think about how much time you'll have left to invest. The fact that, you're doing this early, hopefully you can knock this out, in half the time, half of 15 years. And then it's like you have the rest of your life to invest. So it's a great question. For sure. But
yeah, and I see what you're saying with the math, and I get it. But there is something, Caden, to be said that when you start paying down your mortgage and you start seeing that number get lower and lower and lower, and it's not just sitting in an account trying to play another game, there is that psychology that we see over and over again that it continues to cause you to be more motivated, causes you to maybe even make more sacrifices than you thought to get your house paid off that much faster. And that's the advantage of watching that principal go down as you continue to pay it off. Does that make sense? But yeah, so I mean that's always what I would recommend to continue, because again, that investing game for doing something like this, it's like, well, I don't want to pay off my house, I want to invest, and then obviously he said take the money out, but if you don't time it right, or if the economy's not doing great, you're not going to want to take it out and pay off your house, and you're going to have a mortgage for another 2 years.
Yeah, and it's just tempting. I mean, to see that money there and to not really have a goal behind it. There are people who are amazingly disciplined, and that can be a thing. But for a lot of people, like you said,
that's a great point. That you'll have all that money, and then you're thinking, oh gosh, man, we need to replace a car. We need to, you have it earmarked for the house, but life starts to happen, and you think, well, we can just use this cash for other things. That's a great point, too.
Yeah, it's tempting sitting there. All right, next up, we have Nicole calling from Dallas, Texas. Hey, Nicole, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you guys for having me.
Of course, how can we help?
Yes, so I had two things. I just finished esthetician school, and I was going to use that as like a side hustle to generate some more income. And basically, I'm now stuck between renting a suite, which here in Dallas, Texas, suites are usually running about probably $1,200 a month to $1,500 a month, and that's kind of on the lower end. And I really am not in the place, because I'm in baby step number 2. I just have my car left to finish, but I'm not in the place to add an additional $1,200 coming out a month for a suite. And I don't really have a clientele yet because I've just graduated. So I'm stuck between that, because I was thinking about doing it at home, but then there's kind of like safety measures with that.
Yeah.
But I do know some people that have done it in the very beginning of their career. And, so that's one thing of just getting your advice on what would you kind of do with that. And then number two, since I'm in baby step number 2, I have an 8-year-old, and it's really just me throwing out fear, which I should kind of knock it down. But I've been kind of like sad sometimes because I'm trying to do these steps and it feels like I'm in a rush because I have an 8-year-old and I want to put him in like certain activities. But I kind of wanted your advice on that too, because there's some things I want to put him in that you would have to pay for monthly, like tutoring. He needs it for reading. And I don't really have much of a wiggle room to kind of spin that and have him keep going and doing that consistently.
Yes.
But I just don't want him to miss out on his childhood because I'm trying to save money.
For sure. Well, great questions, Nicole. Okay, so we'll tackle the first one. So I know for a lot of people, I'm going to use this as an example, Nicole, because the girl that does my hair, she's in one of these private like suites like you're talking about. You walk into a building and there's a bunch and people rent it out. It's exactly what you're saying. And I know for her, even talking to her in her business, she did have to build up a clientele by working at a salon for about 2 years. And then she had enough of a clientele that she was able, and money ongoing, to be able to go and rent out a space and to ensure that she had enough clients to be able to do that. So have you thought about possibly a salon option for the time being?
Yeah, it's just the pay. But I guess it's something I don't have to put out anything.
Because there's no risk, right? And so even doing that for 12 months, I think would be wise, because like you're saying, it is a risk. And unless you can sublease maybe a day or two from someone else that has a suite, I don't know how all that works, but maybe even if you just do it for one day and it's not having to pay the whole $1,200, where you work at a salon for most of it, and then you go and see if you can, if someone's not using their space every Friday, maybe you could sublease that on just Fridays.
Oh, that's good.
And start to do it on your own.
Yeah, and Nicole, did you say that this was your side hustle?
Yes, I had went to school, and that's what I said I wanted it.
What's your career right now?
Right now, I work in finance, with the bank.
Okay. Well, I think that's interesting, especially since right now this is a side hustle. Maybe that's kind of just like you can create a 5-year vision where at some point this is going to be your full-time hustle. But right now, like Rachel said, maybe you can get that clientele built up
and then do it full-time.
And then do it full-time, but let it be a transition in the process.
And kids, real quick, we'll hit on it because we both have little ones. Nicole, he just wants to be with you. I think we get in this idea that if they're not doing this sport or doing that activity, that they're going to have this terrible childhood. They're not. They're going to be with you. So prioritize. If tutoring is that, have maybe 1 or 2 things that you prioritize that's the good for him long term, but his childhood, I promise, is not going to be taken away because he's not doing a bunch of stuff. He wants his mom, and you're doing a great job, Nicole. Well done.
We'll be right back. This is The Ramsey Show.
Still on baby step number 1, eh?
How'd you guess?
With healthcare costs rising, learn how Christian Healthcare Ministries can help you make the most out of your budget. Visit chministries.org/budget.
Don't worry, it's worth it.
Welcome back to The Ramsey Show. I'm Christina Ellis, joined today by Rachel Cruz, and we're taking your calls at 888-825-5225. Let's go to the phones. Next up, we have Theo calling from Phoenix, Arizona. Hey, Theo, welcome to the show.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great. How can we help?
All right. I just wanted to call in. I've been watching the show for a while, and I'm 23. I've been working in a warehouse since I was 19. And ever since I was little, I've always dreamed about tattooing, and now my dreams are finally coming true. I've been an apprentice for the past 6 months. My wife's a saint. She says, go get it. My baby's the best. She's 2 years old. And, I just wanted to call today and ask, once I go into tattooing full time, what steps should I take to make sure that the rest of my life is set up where I have a retirement, I have savings, I have everything that this warehouse job is kind of setting up with the 401 and the medical and everything that a warehouse job would provide you that way.
Well, where are you at now in terms of your finances? Do you have any debt?
Thankfully, all we have is our vehicles. I bought a $17,000 Titan, and me and my dad, we do handyman on the side, so it's just not an ornament. We pull trailers, we do a lot of jobs with it, and we have a $9,000 car payment for my wife because she works full-time as well.
Okay.
And that's it. No school debt, no credit card debt. It's just these two, and our mortgage, of course. But
what's your mortgage?
We got a house at 218, but right before the pandemic.
Okay.
So our mortgage payments are $11,500 every month.
Okay, and then what is your take-home pay going to be with this new job?
With tattooing, it's very lucrative. My mentor's been tattooing over 10 years, and every month he takes home around $15,000.
That's great. Theo, are you going out on your own, or are you going to be working with someone?
I'm going to be staying in the same shop that I'm apprenticing under.
Okay.
It's a great shop in my town. It's been voted best shop 6 years in a row.
Awesome.
I've been very lucky to even get in because I've seen him turn down countless and countless of people trying to come in.
That's
I don't know
so
why
great.
you took me on. I used to go to that shop when I was in high school, and when me and my wife found out we were pregnant with our first one, I told him respectfully, I got to take this warehouse job full time, which I did from 19 to now 23. I'm still here. What I love about it is I love my job. I work in a Walmart distribution. I'm lead safety. I've took on so many roles here, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a people business, and so is tattooing. And
that's great.
That's what I love about it.
Well, I'm excited for you. I mean, it sounds like you're obviously extremely passionate. And you know what you want. I mean, you've enjoyed what you've done so far, and you've been grateful for that. And I love that spirit in you. So,
I'm blessed every day.
Yeah, that's so great, Theo. So you're asking about, I think, a couple of things. You're asking about retirement and all of that. So since you're working for a shop, do they have, a 401k plan? Do they have anything like that when it comes to retirement?
When you go into tattooing, it's all on you. It's his shop. And he's not my boss. He's just the owner.
Oh, okay.
I pay rent, and it's all on me at that point. So basically, it's like I'm starting my own business.
Yep.
I'm
I hear
paying
you.
for my space.
I hear you. Okay. Yeah. So one thing.
I don't want to get wide-eyed. I don't want to be dumb.
Yes. No.
We like that.
Great questions. I know. So
That's why
great.
I'm calling you guys. I don't know anyone that's really been financially smart in my life, and I want to make sure, like I said, I'm 23. I got a lot of living to do, and I want to make sure I do it right.
Yeah.
If every 23-year-old could call in, man, there'd be so many 30-year-olds who didn't have major regrets.
I know,
feel
that's right.
like
That's
we
right.
talk to so many people that are just like, if we would have known. So the fact that you're calling now, Theo, is just wonderful. And congratulations on the new job. That is so exciting. And I love the way that you've worked for it. You've persevered. You set that goal. Are you familiar with the baby steps?
No, I'm not. I've heard of it on the show, but I've never really looked into it. I just wanted to call you guys.
Do you have any savings, Theo? That's just around.
Just
that's not in retirement.
401k right
Just your
now.
401k. So nothing liquid. Okay. So Christina brings up a great point. So walking through the baby steps. This is our 7-step plan that really is going to help guide you to do exactly what you need to do. And so that very first step is to get a $1,000 emergency fund. So I want you to do that immediately. That's the very first thing you're going to do. And then number 2, you're going to start working your way out of debt. And it's going to be these cars. And you may look at the $17,000 Titan and be like, man, I wonder, like, what Kelley Blue Book would say. Do I sell it? If you can't pay it off.
Kelley Blue Book told me $10,000, and you know what? Kelley Blue Book ain't wrong. She's old, but she's a
That's right.
She does her job. She hauls the kids around. Well, our daughter's second one here pretty soon.
Yeah. So if you, I would then be paying off your wife's car first, the $9,000, get that paid off, and then be paying off your car. And maybe you guys look to say, like, man, we want to get out of debt so that we have our income, we don't have these car payments. And maybe you look at selling if you can't pay it off in 12 to 18 months, but that could be what you decide. And then you're going to go look at a fully funded emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. And then we're going to start looking at retirement. Okay, so retirement is going to be a little bit down.
Retirement comes last?
It comes in the middle of the plan. So there's 7 steps. That comes to number 4. Step 4 will be 15% of your income into retirement. And just tuck this away, Theo, because you probably won't be contributing to retirement here in the next maybe 2-3 years while you do these first couple of steps. But write down SmartVestor Pro and go sit down with one of our SmartVestor Pros, because they're going to be able to help you when it comes to retirement, because you're going to want to do things like open up a Roth IRA. You know, at that point, if you are still kind of out on your own, you know, there's other options for self-employed people to have plans that are tax advantage for retirement. So be looking into that. And then after that, it's kids' college, paying off the house early, all of it. But if you hang on the line, Emily's going to pick up and give you a year-long membership to Financial Peace University and Every Dollar Plus.
Are you for real?
Yes, Theo. Are you kidding? And you and your wife, I want you to sit down and watch these videos, because it's going to be able to walk you through the entire plan. Cool. And you're going to learn things like insurance. You're going to be learning things, you know, even deeper in investing when it comes to buying a house. I mean, everything, the basics of what you probably, Leo, what every high schooler should have learned before they graduated high school. This is the class of, like, this is the basics of how to win with money. And here's the deal, Theo. If you guys do it, and what Christina said earlier, at your age, if you guys do this, Theo, you are no doubt going to be everyday millionaires very soon, especially if you're making this kind of income. You guys are going to be able to completely change your family tree. And you said you don't have anyone in your life that financially you trust.
My mom's been in the field since she was 4 years old. And Nana's the same thing. I'm Hispanic, and no one. I have 9 uncles, and I have like 10 grandfathers. No one in my family is. I want to change that. I want to show our tree this. You can do it.
Yes, Theo. That's the motivation. That's your why. And you just need that plan. And I can hear it in your voice. You're going to do it. I mean, I fully believe that, Theo.
I don't get there. I just want to, in this life, if you get help, why not take it?
That's
Pay it
right.
Back, but why not take it? And I wanted to call you guys in today, and just see where to go, because past 6 months, I've been working 15-hour days every day. That's why I say my wife's a saint, because I only see her 5 minutes through the day when I see her at work, because I come home at 12 o'clock at night usually. And I'm out the door at 8 o'clock to drop off our daughter at daycare.
Wow. Theo, that's just amazing. The fact that you are 23 years old, you are doing that kind of effort, you are having that kind of perseverance. I'm just waiting for the day that you call in for the Baby Steps Millionaire Theme Hour. Like, it's going to happen.
That's right. That's
that
right.
Is so exciting. And I just think it's such motivation for all the young people out there, for everybody, really. Even if you're in your 50s and you're listening and you're saying, no one in my family has ever been wealthy. Everybody in my family has screwed up with money. And I want that to be different. I want to change our family tree. You can do that right now. And if you're like Theo and you don't know where you're at in the Ramsey Baby Steps, you can go to RamseySolutions.com and click on Get Started. It's an assessment that'll help you figure out where you are and what you need to do next. We'll be right back. This is The Ramsey Show.
We've been doing business at Ramsey for more than 30 years. By now, we're a well-oiled machine, but it wasn't always that way. Yes, we've always had a vision, always had determination, and a drive to help people. But what we didn't have was one central place to access all our numbers so that we could get further ahead or quickly see when we needed to pivot. We were always jumping back and forth between different systems and spreadsheets. So when NetSuite by Oracle helped us wrangle our revenue, inventory, expenses, and more into one place, it was a game changer. And NetSuite's #1 cloud financial system can help your business gain the same visibility, because businesses thrive on timely data. And NetSuite's real-time analytics can help your business have immediate access to your numbers daily, so you always know where you stand and you can move quickly. So go to netsuite.com/Ramsey today and set up a free product tour. That's netsuite.com/Ramsey.
Welcome back to The Ramsey Show. We're taking your calls today at 888-825-5225. Call us if you have questions about your life, your money, or really just anything. If you're working through a situation and you want another set of ears, give us a call. All right, Rachel, I saw this article a few days ago about Mark Cuban and how he's raising his kids. And I think it's just so interesting with the call we just had from the 23-year-old who's trying to break generational poverty, all these different things. And it's just so cool because even though Mark Cuban is a billionaire, he stated in this article that when he talks to his kids, he says, after your health, my #1 thing for you all is I don't want you to be entitled jerks. So even with tons of money, billions of dollars, he is still prioritizing making sure his kids have good money values and principles. I think it's something that so many of us parents worry about. It's like no matter where you come from, you want your kids to be smart with their money. So many of us graduated from college, myself included, and there were so many things that I just didn't know going out. You know, it was like there's just all these sharks in the water, all these different temptations, and you just get out into the world and there's so many questions. And so Mark, he actually says that he told his kids that, I'm not just going to write you checks. You don't just get a credit card. You can't just buy whatever you want. His kids are out doing jobs. They're working. They're making their own money. If they want something, then they have to buy it themselves. And I just think that's so cool. We all come from different money backgrounds. We're all setting goals of breaking generational poverty or not having your kids be entitled jerks.
Yes, yes.
And I know you wrote Smart Money, Smart Kids with your dad. And I've been working with students for years going to college. And I have seen so many kids who didn't have the money conversation and they end up drowning in student loan debt.
Because they didn't know there was another option. Yeah. No one talked to them about it.
And you said that, the student loan crisis, it's not just a money crisis, it's a parenting crisis. It is, the result of a lot of parents being afraid to talk to their kids about money or just feeling like maybe they're not qualified. And it's just such an important thing. And, we're both moms of young kids. And it's just, it's incredible how early these conversations can start to come up and how curious they are at such a young age. So for all of the parents listening, when is a good time to start having those conversations with your kids?
Yeah, you can have it as early as 5 years old. I mean, it's amazing what a 5-year-old. I have a 5-year-old. We have a 3, 5, and 7-year-old. And, the encouragement I would have for parents, and this is what my parents did for us, is that it doesn't have to be this big, intimidating, having a money summit every other weekend at the house, and we're all gonna just sit down and be obsessed with money and talk about mutual funds all the time. It doesn't have to be like that at all. If you take this subject of money in the ebb and flow of life and just kind of pull your kids in, it's amazing what they learn from just life and just having a little bit of intentionality. It doesn't have to be a ton. It really doesn't. Just enough where you're like, okay, we're communicating about it, talking about it. And then that next big step is having them actually interact with money and having them do chores around the house. If you have little ones, if you have ones that are 15, 16, 17, that can go have a job part-time doing that. But earning money, I think, is a great first step where they start to learn this is where money comes from. Money didn't come from mom and dad. It comes from working. And then once they make money, when you teach them to give, to save, to spend, just those 3 categories, they do it differently than if they were handed allowance, right? Like every week you just get $10 or $5 because you were just here, but actually making them work. And so it's so funny, Christina. We're not perfect at it by any means. Like Winston and I'm like, man, we should probably do more. This is like my job. I'm like, we probably should be more intentional. But it's funny to already see our kids, their personalities. Because our oldest is like typical oldest. It reminds me of my sister even. She's a saver. Amelia, she's really she's hardworking. Like she will unload dishwashers. I mean, she will go and
That's
like
amazing.
the dishwasher after it runs, she wants to unload it to get, we pay her $1 for that. Like there's a couple of things around the house that we'll pay, and she does it. And she's like, Mom, you owe me $3. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. Like she's so diligent. And then my middle, Caroline, who's 5, is me as a child, where she's like, I want to do nothing but buy me everything, So teaching her to work and make money, but she will spend. I mean, if she has $1, she's like, I'm ready to spend it. She does not want to hold on to money. She wants to spend it, which was me as a kid. And so just already seeing them again, they're, if they even quote unquote make a mistake, which that's even crazy to say it for a little kid, but it's so inexpensive. It's so not fatal. Like it is not a big deal, but letting them kind of learn these things as early as possible is such a gift. And if you have older ones in the house, it's not too late. Like you can still be talking to your kids or your teenagers, or even having them start to work, or mom and dad even put a set amount of money every month in a checking account. And we had to budget that money, and we were not allowed to ask them for anything. Like we couldn't ask them for money at all. And if we needed more money than what was in our account, which we did, they gave us like barely anything. I was like, this is like crazy. We had to go work. So we did. We worked through high school and made money if we wanted to use it to go to the mall or go to the movies. So even if you have teenagers and you haven't been doing this, you can still jump in and start walking with them when it comes to money. And then the last thing, Christina, because I want to hear your thoughts too, but one thing my parents did, and I really want to do this with my kids even as they get older, is I want to bring them into the struggle a little bit. Like I don't want to scare them, but I do want to be like, man, Mom, our minivan, it's had its run. I would love a new car. Like when the minivan has its run, it doesn't. It's 3 years old right now, but I'm like down the road,
Yes.
And if we, decide not to buy it, to be like, yeah, I really want a car, but we're choosing not to. We're choosing to spend our money somewhere else. But like bring them into those conversations of showing them, what do boundaries look like? What do limits look like? And what does it look like to say no, even to us as adults? Like when we say no, I want you kids to know that we are saying no to ourselves so that you can learn how to do that, because that's a powerful principle with money, is learning to say no.
Yes, that's so good. A lot of adults have not learned that principle.
I still struggle with that sometimes. But.
Right, me too. Okay, so this is kind of a personal question, but I feel like a lot of moms out there can relate to this. We're in Target, and our 4-year-old is having like level 7, level 10 meltdown because they're not going to get the toy that they want. And like, I work with money. It's like, we are not excessive people, but we still have those moments where our kids lose their mind when we say, no, you can't have that toy. How should we handle that?
I stick with no. And now I've learned to have the conversation before we go in.
Okay.
To the place, because especially like a Target, because they even just want to go we'll walk the toy aisle. So I'm like torturing my own kids because I'm like, we want to go see. I'm like, sure, we can walk, but like before we get out of the car, I'm like, we're not buying anything. We're not.
Yes.
And then, for me, if they're throwing a fit, I don't personally want the public shaming. So I'm like, I would probably just leave, just like gather them up, be like, okay, we're walking out. We are walking out.
That started to be our conversation in the car. I'm like, we're not buying anything.
Yes.
And if you ask to buy anything, we are leaving, and you don't get to go to the store next time.
That's right. That's right. Oh, man.
And we love the store browsing. So.
Yes, we do too. See, my problem, Christina, right now, as a parent, is I find this is where I get in trouble, is because if something breaks or, a toy messes or something, I got in the habit of being like, okay, well, let me look up on Amazon, and it's like $8.99. I'm like, well, we'll get another one. I did that for a hot second over and over and over again, to the point now my kids are like, well, just Amazon it. I'm like, what? We're Xing that. And I'm like, no, because we have to pay for it. And no, we're not.
Right.
We're not. You have to take care of your stuff. So as a mom, I created that habit in our kids. I think it was during COVID where I was like, we'll just figure it out. And so I had to backpedal on that one because they learned that from me. And I thought, oh no. And I told them like, no, this costs money. And my Caroline was like, no, just go on your phone, Mom. to Amazon, and it just shows up. And I was
it's magic. It just...
no, that costs money. That costs money. And we don't have any, and I tell them, they think we're broke because I just tell them all the time, we don't have the money for that. We have to pay for lights and food in the refrigerator, and we don't have any more money. I have told them that a lot. They don't know about our emergency fund.
Well, it's been funny. We did No Spend January, and I have a 4-year-old, and he was impacted by it. I'm like, the fact that he did not love No Spend January, I'm like, how do you even know? How do you know? So parents, your kids are aware, have these conversations. We're having these conversations, and we're not perfect.
That's right.
Even though we do this every day,
That's
it
right.
is an ongoing process. We'll be right back. Give us a call, 888-825-5225. This is The Ramsey Show. Welcome back to The Ramsey Show. Lots of you started the year fired up to make changes with your money. But now that some time has gone by, you might be starting to lose momentum. You're not alone. Change is hard, and it's way harder if you're trying to do it alone. That's why you've got to have people walking with you. And that's why a Financial Peace University class has been a game changer for millions of people. In an FPU class, you'll learn our proven plan to get out of debt and build wealth. You'll do it with other people going after the same goals as you. Plus, you'll have a coordinator guiding you through the whole thing. It's a judgment-free place to talk about money and get the accountability you need. It's people leaning on people. We need people. That's why this works. You don't have to figure this out alone. There are hundreds of FPU classes going on all across the country, both online and in person. So go join one right now. To find an FPU class, go to ramseysolutions.com/FPU class, all one word. That's ramseysolutions.com/FPU class. All right, let's go back to the phones. Up next, we have Michael calling from Tyler, Texas. Hey, Michael, welcome to the show.
Hello. I'm a college professor, and I'm single with no kids, so I live on campus in a private dorm room, and that saves me about $1,100 a month.
Nice.
So my coworker's, I like where this is going. All right, my coworker, who's a big Dave Ramsey fan, he says that I should move out because no girl is ever going to want to date a guy who lives in a college dorm.
And has that been true for you so far?
I think my issue in that area is less about my living situation and more about I'm just kind of in a smaller town, and there's a couple of selectivity issues going on there. But I've never met anybody that said like, "Well, I don't want to go out with you because you live in a dorm."
I don't think so, Michael. At least not the kind of woman you would want eventually to marry, right? I mean, if you were living with your parents, yeah, I could see someone being like, okay, so what are we doing there? But you're a professor at the school, and so your room and board it's free, right? For you, you're not paying anything.
Well, no, it's just really, really cheap.
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
Everything paid, no bills or anything.
Yeah.
Didn't Deloney live on campus?
Yeah, he did with his with Sheila, and I want to say one more, a baby. We're getting a baby signal from the booth. Yeah, Dr. John Deloney, that's a host on the show. Him and his wife, that's right, Sheila, they lived there.
And he's like the coolest of the personalities. So if you need somebody with some swag, you can be like, hey, Deloney did it.
Deloney lived in a dorm with a wife and a kid. No, Michael, I don't think so at all. I don't think that that's going to be a major deterrent. I don't think it would be for me. I think, again, it's not because you don't you lack drive or willpower. Like those kind of things could be a label on someone that's still living at home that you're like, why are you still living at home? But you're doing it for a reason, intentionally, and that doesn't bother me.
So did this friend who said you're not going to be able to have any game if you live in a dorm, is he broke?
He's married. He's all right. He's doing all right.
I feel like there's a good chance that you might be taking advice from somebody who's broke, because
he's a big Dave Ramsey fan, though, right? Is he a Ramsey Show fan? The Friends, you said?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a bunch of income, but he's doing well for him. He's doing all right for himself. He's not broke.
So listen, Michael, here's my I wish Stallone was on the show to give you relational advice. Here's my thing. If it becomes a pattern of women that you really do, a woman that you really like, and you guys have been dating, and she's like, I can't date you anymore because you live in the dorm, and that happens 2-3 times, then maybe there's a pattern of, okay, maybe Christine and Rachel were wrong. Maybe that this thing is an issue. But I just don't think that's going to happen.
And also, like, if you are on this plan and you want to build wealth and your goal is to be a baby steps millionaire, I mean, do you really want to be with someone who has a problem with you scrimping and saving and doing what you've got to do to build wealth? I mean, because $1,100
here. I can't wait for my friend to hear this. This is perfect.
Okay, here's a question for you, Michael. Do you eventually want to be a homeowner, though? Like, is that in your future to say, I would love to own a home? Because owning a home is a great investment, and we do recommend people doing that when the time is right for them financially. So that's a goal for you, right? You don't want to live in a dorm your whole life.
Honestly, I say now you might be turning against me, because here's my position. If I get married, yes, but if I just end up not being married, then I would not buy a house. If it's just me, just single me, I don't even have any pets or anything, I wouldn't buy a house.
Okay. Well, I would disagree a little bit. I think owning a home and having equity and all of that, I think is just a great asset to your overall financial picture. But for the moment you're in, and for the dating advice that Christina and I are going to give you, I think you're good. I think you're fine.
I'm with Rachel. Well, thanks for the call. That is a great question.
I hope I'm right. Sorry, Michael, if I ruined your love life. Like if I am wrong and people won't date you because you're in a dorm, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
All right, up next we have Ashley calling from Houston, Texas. Hey, Ashley, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, how can we help?
Hi. So I have I guess it's a real estate question. So my sister and I own a home together. It is paid off, but I plan on separating with her probably within the next 2 years. And I'm not really sure how to go about it.
Okay. Well, give us a little backstory. How did this come about?
Well, I purchased a home when I was 18. It's paid off, so it's not like we have a note. But I don't know, should I save up the cash to buy her out on her end, or should I take out a loan for it? I don't know.
Is this a tumultuous relationship, or is this a pretty clean break?
No, it's pretty clean. It's just our lifestyles are just becoming different, and I would just rather be alone.
Yeah, and is her name attached to the house legally?
Yeah, both of our names are on the house.
It is on the house. Okay. Yeah. How much is the home worth right now?
About $350.
Okay. And do you like the house? Do you want to keep the house?
Yeah, we've agreed. I would keep the house, and then I would just pay, her half from the house.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure how to go about that.
How much do you make a year?
From 75 to 100.
Okay. And you're thinking it'll be another 2 years?
Yeah, I gave myself till I was I'll wait till I'm 25, and then I'll be okay, well, it's time.
How did you all pay off the house? Was this from an inheritance or just aggressively paying it down?
Yeah. We got an inheritance when I was 18.
Okay. Do you have any of that inheritance left?
I have about $40,000 in cash.
Do you have any other debt?
A little bit of credit card debt, but I'm paying that off.
Okay. How much is a little?
It's $12,000.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, Ashley, there's a couple things you guys can do. I mean, you could sell it and you take your half of the equity, she takes the other half, and you start a clean slate. Once you are debt free, you have an emergency fund. I mean, you want to be financially ready to do that if that's what you got. I mean, that would be clean to do it that way. If not, yes, you are going to have to buy her out.
At that point, she would take on a mortgage, correct?
Yeah. Yes, you would have to. You'd have to take the loan if you didn't have the cash. And so a part of me is like, okay, would you go and buy a, $175,000 home right now and take a mortgage out? Would you go do that right now?
No.
Okay.
I'm not entirely ready for that yet.
So, and I don't know if you're going to be entirely ready for that in 2 years either. So those are the questions you have to ask yourself is, can I afford to be able to do this? And if you did, you'd want to do the math and make sure that, that loan is no more than 25% of your take-home pay. But I'm a little nervous, actually. I kind of would like you to just start clean by selling it and you guys go your separate ways.
Yeah, and I would sit down with a real estate attorney to just make sure that as you guys break this agreement, that all your I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and everything is clean. Even though it's family, sometimes things can get messy. All right, that puts this hour of the Ramsey Show in the books. We'll be back. Hey, it's Christina Ellis. If you like what you heard in this episode and want to know more about getting started on the Ramsey baby steps, go to RamseySolutions.com and click on the Get Started button. We'll help you figure out the best next step for you based on your specific situation. That's RamseySolutions.com and click Get Started. Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Pods Moving and Storage Studio, it's The Ramsey Show, where we help people build wealth, do work that they love, and create actual amazing relationships. I'm Ramsey personality Christina Ellis, joined today by my fellow Ramsey personality and friend, Rachel Cruz. We're taking your calls at 888-825-5225. Give us a call, let's chat. First up, we've got Aaron calling from Tampa, Florida. Hey, Aaron, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing well. How are you?
Just peachy. Well, I'm calling because I have a little bit of a dilemma in regards to what I want to do for my further education. So to give a little bit of backstory, I have 2 associate's degrees and a professional certification in aircraft maintenance, which is, as far as I know, and as far as I've determined so far, my dream career. And in the process of getting this degree, my father got a benefit from the VA where I would be afforded the opportunity to go to a 4-year degree, bachelor's degree, completely paid for. But what I'm coming into now is I'm working part-time as a mechanic, and I'm loving the work, and I do my schoolwork, and my eyes glaze over. I have zero motivation. I go into work and I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And it feels like because this opportunity is available and free that I'm squandering it by not taking it. So I'm not sure if I should drop out and continue on with the career.
Do you need the degree to do what you want to do?
I do not. I have had these certifications to do what I want to do for about 4 years now.
Then I would love to know Christina's thoughts. I'm like, then leave, Aaron. Drop out of school. You're fine. You have the qualifications of what you need to go make money doing what you love. And just because something is free doesn't mean that it's a good deal for you. I mean, it's awesome that you had the opportunity, and I'm sure a lot of people would love that. But in your specific situation, you don't need it. And so there's no point unless it's furthering your education for you to use a certification later on in the same fee. You can keep going on with that. But if it's not, what are you getting the degree in?
General business administration.
Just for the heck of it, because the opportunity came.
Essentially,
yeah.
I figured it wouldn't hurt if I go into the future and I have it, but at the same time, I have no motivation to continue. I've been working in a small business for 6 years at this point.
Yeah. How much school do you have left?
2 more years in the 4-year. I have 2 associates, and if I drop out, I could go into a job tomorrow making $35 an hour.
Well, and you are the example of why the 4-year degree is not everything. We are all about people getting an education so that they can reach the career that they want. But you've already done that. It's not like you're somebody who doesn't have an education and you can't reach the dream job. You have 2 associate's degrees, you got your certifications, and you're working your dream job. And whenever you go back to college, let's say you do that 4-year degree, there's still ROI on that. And if it's not going to, increase your pay in your current job in your dream field, you also could be losing the opportunity to spend more hours working in the job that you love, building more credibility, advancing your career. And so I think there's a little bit of that feeling of it's what I should do, right? It's what America says is the path that you have to go to be successful. You have to get a 4-year degree. You have to do that. And that's not true.
And especially since it's free, that pressure feels like, oh gosh, then there's no option. I have to take this because it's free. And it feels like, that you have to for some reason, right? With the pressure Christina was saying. So
do you have outside pressure? Like you said, it was through your dad. Is he kind of pushing that narrative that you need to go back to school?
He was for a while. I talked to him about it yesterday, and he said he'd support me either way I go. And my significant other feels the same way. She said, do your dream. You don't act the same on the days you do go to school versus the days you work. The days I go to school, I'm just bitter and negative, and it's just not a good time for me. So
and I wouldn't base this decision off of your emotions in the moment because it's short. It's a fairly short amount of time, right? So if you had to grind it out for 2 years and you were miserable in those days, you'd get through it and then you'd have your degree and you could keep going. But the reason it's not, I'm saying this not because you're not happy on days that you're going to school, but because you just don't need it, Aaron. Like you don't need it. So I would drop out and thank your dad, be gracious, be grateful because of his service. So they tell him thank you for his service from us. Because of his service, you were given that opportunity and that you're grateful for it. But the course of your life, Aaron, you don't need it. So.
And what's so interesting, I posted something the other day about student loans on Instagram, and I had several comments from people where they were like, I went into so much debt and I'm not even using my degree, and yet I have friends who didn't go to college in a 4-year school and they're making 6 figures. They're doing amazing and they have 0 student loan debt. So we really have to buck up against this idea that everyone has to get a 4-year degree, that everyone needs to go to school, that it is the ticket, that it is the key that's going to make you successful, because that's just not true. We love education. Obviously, I help people go to school debt-free. I built my career on that. But I'm still not going to say that it's for everyone. Yep. We need mechanics. We need people who are in the trades, who are working hard, and who we literally depend on every day. And so I think you are such a great example, Aaron, of somebody who doesn't necessarily need a 4-year degree. I think actually that could potentially be kind of a waste of time and potentially not ROI.
That's the feeling that I have been feeling as well, that I could be making more money and getting the experience needed to further my career. It was just hard for me to rationalize that. It's only 2 more years. I'll have it in the end. I can do, if something happens, and I could do something else. But I can't really see myself using the degree in the future.
Well, it's a good question. And I think that it's wise for you to work all the way through it, because for some people, like you said, Rachel, there are situations where people just aren't motivated. School sometimes can be not fun. And ultimately, in the long run, they need to push through in order to get to that dream career. There are situations where it's just not going to be fun. You have to go to class, maybe chemistry or trigonometry. It's not going to be the most exciting thing, but it's a means to an end. So for sure, if you are looking into a career where you need that degree and you feel grumpy when you go to class, you may just need to push through it. That's just, I've had classes in college that I didn't enjoy that I went to anyways. However, that does not mean that's true for everyone. I love this question, this stop in the moment and go, hey, is this necessary? Is a degree necessary for all of you who are about to go to college, or especially for people who are thinking about grad school? It's really important to sit down and look at the numbers, look at the long-term ROI. Is this degree worth it? Is it going to pay off? It could be yes, but don't just blindly go just because you feel like it's the right next step that you quote unquote should do. Give us a call at 888-825-5225. We'll be right back. This is The Ramsey Show.
If you're like most people, your home is your most valuable asset. And when you want to make improvements, it can feel like everything costs too much or takes too long. But something as simple as custom window coverings from Blinds.com can completely change your space and add value to your home. We've recommended Blinds.com for over a decade, so you know you can trust them. From blinds, drapes, and shutters to motorized shades, they make it easy and affordable to upgrade your entire home, and their team is ready to help with everything from design consultation to measuring and installation. Plus, there are never any misleading quotes or hidden fees. Everything's backed by their 100% satisfaction guarantee, and shipping is always free. See why Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Visit Blinds.com to save up to 40% off everything site-wide. Go to Blinds.com for more information.
Welcome back to The Ramsey Show. We're all feeling the strain of inflation these days, but I want you to know you can still have financial peace even when the prices of groceries are rising through the roof. That's why I'm going on the Building Wealth Tour live with Dave and our team of personalities. Join us as we share the proven plan for your money so you can build wealth and have peace no matter what's going on in the economy. On February 16th, we'll be in Indianapolis with Dave Ramsey, George Kamel, and Jade Warshaw. Next, the tour is heading to Austin on February 23rd with Dave Ramsey, Ken Coleman, John Deloney, and Jade Warshaw. On April 24th, catch me, Dave Ramsey, George Kamel in Salt Lake City. And our final stop of the tour is in Anaheim on May 2nd with Dave, Ken, Deloney, and me. Tickets start at $49, or you can get a pack of 4 tickets starting at $175. Go to RamseySolutions.com/events to reserve your seats now.
And I'll be in Indianapolis. I'm like, where am I going?
They left you off.
And Salt Lake City. I'll be there.
Yes,
I know. I forgot old Rachel Cruz is going to be on the road too. No, but these are really fun events, though. They really are. Dave does a great keynotes at the beginning, really showing the landscape of what building wealth looks like over time, and even taking learning from history of like, okay, what works, what doesn't work, and then we all get to sit kind of panel style and talk about current events, like what is going on in the world. How do you build wealth literally in 2023 with everything going on? And so it is. It's a really fun event. It's kind of a different format than what we usually do, but we've done it, I guess, for 2 seasons now on the road. So it's gonna be great.
It's so important too, because we're coming out of this season where crypto is huge and all these different investment schemes and ideas and TikTok hacks. were big, and now we have inflation and a lot of fear. So to be able to come to cities and speak life and truth and hope is just really powerful.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I'm like, you think about this time last year when we were in the spring, it was crypto, the housing market. People were freaked out about, we thought it was going to be a big, people thought it was going to be a bubble. And then you fast forward 12 months and it's a totally different set of issues.
Now it's eggs and
it's how chickens, how quick things change. It's pretty wild. So, we're excited.
Come join us. We're ready to chat with y'all, have that conversation. All right, let's go back to the phones. Next up, we have Matthew calling from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Hey, Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here. How can we help?
Thanks. I just want to let you guys know that I am 19 years old. I am graduating undergrad in May, completely debt-free.
Woohoo!
And I had some questions about what I'm going to do after that. So I've been accepted to medical school, and that's looking like it's going to be about a $250,000 adventure all in, right? I do have some savings. It's not really in that ballpark. And I've applied to a lot of scholarships, but that will at most cover about $100,000 of that adventure. So my parents have offered to help, and they've given me a couple different ways that they've offered to help me. And I'm just wondering which of these would be best for me and kind of my future financial self.
Okay, let's walk through it.
All righty. First, they told me that they would be able to pay for my rent throughout the whole time there, so that'd be about $1,100 or $1,200 a month. Or they could take out a mortgage. And they could, I would have to cash out all of my savings, but they would be willing to pay for everything else, pay the mortgage that they can afford independently. And then after I'm out of medical school, we could sell that house. And instead of having paid that money in rent, I would have built equity in a house, and I can apply that money to what will be my student loans there.
Okay. This mortgage, would that be on their primary house?
Yes, it would. They are just about ready to pay off their house, actually, and it's something that they can afford within the Ramsey guidelines.
I don't know that we'd ever really recommend taking out a mortgage to pay for college, so that wouldn't be in the Ramsey guidelines, and I also would say they can't really afford that. We want them to pay off their house and build wealth for their sake, and college for parents is paying for college. That's optional. So first, we're going to want to protect their retirement. And if they have to take a mortgage to pay for college, they can't afford it.
Okay.
So tell us.
Yeah.
So you're 19 and you just graduate. You're about to graduate from undergrad.
Yes.
That's
I've
amazing.
gotten a lot of academic scholarships so far, and just kind of going through on the borrowed future plan there, and looking and seeing just all that stuff has been really inspiring. I'm doing everything I can to sort of eliminate as much debt for my future life as I can.
Yeah. How did you go to undergrad debt-free?
So actually, there was a program here, and I was able to get through 2 years early. I had really high ACT scores as a sophomore in high school, and so they paid for my first 2 years of college. Because I chose to stay in state, they told me they'd pay for the rest of it as well.
Your parents would?
No, the actual school. I got full ride scholarship.
That's great, Matthew.
That's wonderful.
Okay, so medical school's coming up, and if I wrote down it correctly, you have $100,000 towards it, correct? With scholarships, thereabout. Okay, and so that means you would have $150,000 left to pay for school, correct? Because it's $250,000 total.
And you mentioned some savings. How much is the savings?
So the savings actually would be part of that $150,000 that I have there. So I've got $30,000 in savings, $40,000 in savings rather, and about a potential for about $100,000 in scholarships. But that's still up in the air as of right now.
That's wonderful. I just want to stop for a second and say, good job. Like the fact that you already have that savings, the fact that you already have scholarships lined up, you're killing it so far. So
thank you.
I also want to highlight, like, you sound brilliant. Like the fact that you've already done all this, you're graduating at 19. I love that you have $100,000 in scholarships, but why stop there?
Yeah, with medical school, there are a lot of ways we can get that paid for. I've seen a lot of your all's guidance on MD, PhD programs, and some stuff with the Army. Both of those programs, the MD, PhD actually isn't offered at my school, right? And so that's something that's not on the table for me. And And I'd really like to be able to stay in Kentucky with my family. And so that's not really something that I can do with the Army route. So
okay, I would challenge that, Matthew. I'll challenge that though, because if you had a program that would pay for you to go to medical school in Indiana, would you not take that just to be near your family?
Perhaps, but it's not a decision that, like, at 19 years old, I'm not ready to sign the next 7 years of my life after medical school away. So after 4 years of medical school, they require 7 years of service where they can move me here, there, yonder.
Well, we're even talking about the MD PhD program.
Yeah, not military. I was talking about the other program.
Oh, no, I've actually already been accepted to one program, and that was part of the conditional for acceptance was that I could only apply to their program, and they had some of the best tuition rates out there. And plus, I've done some stuff that's very similar to MD, PhD, some research stuff like that, and it's really not up my alley there.
So was it an early decision program where you signed like a binding agreement saying you wouldn't apply somewhere else, or what did that look like?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, that was it.
And with that, you kind of made the commitment on the front end that you would go to that school no matter what the finances looked like?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So with this scholarship allocation, is that like a certain amount each year, or is that like you have $100,000 to spend, paying for each year as you go?
That would be a certain amount each year, and it would only be applicable to the tuition part of it, I believe.
So how much do you have left to make up for the first year?
For the first year, probably about, with my savings, about $30,000, and it would probably take me about zero savings.
About zero savings. Okay. So then if I'm in your shoes and I've made that commitment, then I am applying to scholarships like crazy. You did say your parents can help out some. If they can help out without taking a mortgage out, that's great. But at this point, with the fact that you've committed, you got to just hustle and figure out how to find that money. If it's not a binding commitment, then I would encourage you to look at other programs because you are brilliant and you have the chance of getting a full ride somewhere else. We'll be right back. This is The Ramsey Show.
Look, I love real estate, and I want you to have a house, but I don't want a house to have you. That's why you need to get in touch with Churchill Mortgage to make sure you do this right. These guys are awesome. They'll help you get on a smarter mortgage plan because they're committed to doing what's right for you. That means they check in every year with free consultations to help you stay on the right plan. They show you how to save money and interest so you can build wealth faster. They walk you through the total cost of your loan so you can make the best choice. Basically, they care. That's why we call them Ramsey Trusted. You can achieve debt-free home ownership, and Churchill is here to help. Go to their site, churchillmortgage.com/Ramsey, to start your approval or get more information.
Welcome back to The Ramsey Show. We're taking your calls at 888-825-5225. Today's question of the day comes from Ashley in Boston. I'm a 21-year-old full-time student and will graduate at the end of this year. I have about $18,000 in debt on a car, and I have $20,000 in savings. Ooh. I do not have any other kind of debt. I also have a credit card that I use to get access to online textbooks, and these sites only accept credit cards. I want to do the baby steps, but should I wait until I graduate to get rid of my car loan and credit card?
That's a great question, Ashley. Right now, since you have one more year left of school, I would say hold tight and just keep saving money and make sure you get through college debt-free, because I don't think you have any student loans is what you claim. So you say, I have no other debt. Student loans are debt, for those of you that might be confused. So hopefully, Ashley, you don't have that. So I would say to stay put, get through school, make sure that you graduate debt-free. And then once you graduate and you kind of make that transition to where you're going to be, then I would plug in your savings, which will be more than $18,000 at that point, hopefully. More than $20,000. And I would automatically pay off the car. But I don't think I would drain my savings account down to $2,000 as a college student, because your number one goal right now is to get through school debt-free.
Yeah, we want to. Yeah, and there's just unexpected expenses that can come up in college. I want to challenge the notion that I have to have a credit card to get online textbooks and that the sites only accept credit cards. I think that's kind of a common misperception. A lot of sites will say, like, enter your credit card here, but they typically still accept debit cards. Right? Like they still accept that. So I don't want anybody to hear that and think, oh, I have to have a credit card. I'll be limited if I don't have one. I have not found that in my experience, and I own zero credit cards.
And it's usually, with the processing and stuff for the most part. I mean, obviously, if you hit debit, you got to put in a PIN number if you're there at the checkout. But I even run my debit card as a credit because I want it to run through Visa or MasterCard, whatever the little emblem is on my debit card, to make sure that I have full protection as if it's a credit card transaction, even though the money's coming right out of my checking account because it's a debit card. So, yeah, people get a little bit confused on that. But if it accepts a credit card, it will accept a debit card.
Yes, there you go. Do you ever catch yourself at the store whenever the clerk is like, credit card? And I'm like, debit. Just so people know, I'm using my debit card. But I do love that you're in college and you're thinking about the baby steps. Just be intentional with that. Keep that savings. We're definitely not saying, go spend it and don't care about it. But like Rachel said, keep building it, because hopefully when you graduate, you'll not only be able to pay off that car straight away, but you'll also be able to have your fully funded emergency fund. And when you get your first job, immediately start investing. That would be the goal. All right, let's go back to the phones. Next up, we have Andy calling from Dayton, Ohio. Hey, Andy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for calling.
So my wife and I are about to have our second kid, and we're looking forward
congratulations.
to having... Oh, thank you. And it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, honey.
Happy birthday, Andy's wife.
We're looking forward to having a third kid shortly after. So the question is kind of centered around, in about 2 years from now, we're looking to kind of move into our forever home. So my question is, I've got about $38,000 left in student loans, but I also have about $250,000 in my 401k. So the variable interest rate just went up to like 8.8% or something crazy high on the student loans. But given the fact that I'll have a really good pension and my 401k is on pace to be around $2 million when I retire, is it completely frowned upon to maybe borrow $30K against the 401k to pay off the student loans? So then when we're looking to move into our house in a couple of years, we'll be completely debt-free and that 401k will be paid back.
Yes, it is frowned upon, Andy, here. Yeah, no, I would not borrow against my 401k. I would not. How much do you make a year?
120.
Okay, Andy, pay off your student loan. You guys could take 18 months and pay this off. 18 months, you could 14, 12 months. You guys could pay this off.
Yeah, well, we're growing our family and we've got other expenses. We're just in a new house now. And we're just trying to think about how to free up some liquid in a couple of years from now when we move into our forever home.
I don't want you to move into your forever home with debt. Do you have any savings besides retirement?
We've got about $18,000 right now.
Okay. So here's what I would do, Andy. Since you called the Ramsey Show, we're going to give you the Ramsey advice. And I would throw $17,000 there at your student loan. And then you got $21,000 left on it. Pay it off this year, Andy. And then you guys save up, get a big emergency fund, then save up for a down payment, and then move into your dream home where you're not broke. You don't have debt. You have cash in the bank. You're not borrowing from your 401k. And you have the ability then to really step into your home and be like, okay, yeah, we have this like very, very solid financial foundation under us in order to do that. And so I think the problem, especially with student loans, and Christina, you can probably speak on this, is it's a bigger debt usually from people. And it's so normalized that it kind of can become a little bit apathetic of like, I don't know, it's just here and this is what it is. And it's not this like intense, like get this thing out of my life.
Yeah, well, I mean, culture's told us that it's normal. Culture tries to make it seem like it's what everybody takes out for college and that you're going to have it for the next 15 to 20 years. And that does not have to be true. We see it every day here at Ramsey, people tackling the student loan debt and not carrying it around like a puppy for the next 15 years. Like, you can get rid of these student loans. And Annie, I know you want to do it, but you're talking about your 401k and you're talking about the $250 and how it'll be $2 million in retirement. But the problem is when you start pulling from your 401k, it's kind of a slippery slope, right? Like, it's easy to go, okay, we'll just pull from it. It's going to be fine and we'll pay off the student loans. And then, you have another baby and there are more expenses here. And then all these things can start popping up. And then you're not on track to $2 million in retirement. And it's just getting kind of messy. So we would definitely not recommend pulling from that.
And if you leave your job, you have to pay it immediately back. I mean, like there's a lot of risk there involved. And so I would not touch your 401k, Andy. I would cash flow this because you guys have the money. You're able to do it. You have a great income. You have savings. And so it's just, it from the Ramsey baby steps, it feels like you're doing things a little bit out of order, right? And so I just want to get you back to that clear path because we have found with this plan, I mean, we can't argue it because literally millions of people have done it and they have done the steps, and it is the quickest way from point A to point B to not only get control of your money, but to build wealth long term. And so keeping this debt around is stopping you from that. And so I would throw everything at the debt that you have now, except for $1,000. You guys aggressively pay it off. And then, you guys are expecting, Andy, you said that, right? I'm sorry. You guys are about to have a baby.
Yes, next month.
Okay, next month. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me backtrack just a second. I would pause. Wait a month. Make sure baby and mom come home and everything. And then once they're back, everything is good. Everyone's healthy. Then that's when I would start paying off the student loan debt with your savings. You guys attack it and then save up an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, a down payment on the dream home, and I would keep going. And I promise, what this also does, Andy, is when you don't owe anyone anything, not only mathematically, financially does it get you ahead faster, but you sleep at night. The amount of anxiety that you just don't have when you have savings in the bank, you don't have any payments, you're not trying to borrow from this thing to that thing. It is clean. And there is something about our level of anxiety that we carry around as we're kind of, going through the motions of money and the way that the world works. And I'm telling you, if you do something that is so weird, which is what I'm telling you to do, I know mathematically you're like, that doesn't really make sense. You're going to get a different result than what the world has, and it's peace, financial peace, and that's what we want for you. So hang on the line, Andy. I'm going to have Emily pick up because I want you and your wife to go through Financial Peace University while you got a newborn with you guys and you're not sleeping at nights. Turn us on and go through this class, though, because for real, getting the basics of this is really, really important, and follow it and just follow it because it works.
Yeah, and it may not be easy. It may be a season of sacrifice, but remember, it's just a season. You will get through it. We'll be right back. This is The Ramsey Show. Welcome back to The Ramsey Show. I'm Ramsey personality Christina Ellis, joined today by my co-host and friend Rachel Cruz. We're taking your calls at 888-825-5225. Next up, we have Jason calling from Boise, Idaho. Hey, Jason, welcome to the show.
Hey, Christina and Rachel, how are you guys doing?
We're doing well. How can we help?
Well, real quick, I just want to say I appreciate Ramsey. Ramsey used to be a a four-letter word in our house, and now it's almost a term of endearment. If that makes any sense.
I'm glad it changed. I'm glad it changed for you.
It has. My wife and I we've been budgeting. We've been doing really good,
Awesome.
and we just in the last year we have really gotten intense and started getting kicked off at debt. We paid off her car just a couple months ago, and we're snowballing the next debt. But here's the dilemma and the question. My wife is a realtor, and she just sold her first house just a few weeks ago. And with the economy and inflation and everything, her and I were talking about, where's that money going? And, of course, I want to pay off the credit card. It would completely make it go away. And she wants to possibly beef up the emergency fund for just in case. And I just want your guys' thoughts on that.
Okay, so share some numbers with us, Jason. How much will she be bringing home from her commission? And congrats to her on the first house. That's exciting.
Close to $12,000.
Nice. And how much is the credit card?
Well, the next one is about $7,000.
Okay. And what other debt do you guys have?
We have a couple more credit cards. I mean, in total, we got about...
What are they separately? So you have a $7,000, a
$9,000, and a $10,000.
Okay. And any other debt, or it's just these credit cards?
And my truck payment. My truck needs to be...
How much is it?
Paid off eventually. I owe $7,000 on that.
$7,000. Okay. And you guys have the $1,000 emergency fund.
Yes.
Okay. Let me say this, Jason. I understand where she's coming from. And just so you hear from a woman's perspective, the number one financial fear among women is financial insecurity. It's like that feeling of it, exactly what she said. If something happens, are we going to be okay? And so how much do you bring in? I know she's selling houses. What do you bring in a month?
About $3,800 a month.
Okay. So here's where I'm putting myself in your wife's shoes because I understand, even though I teach this and we talk about baby step 1, which we're going to get to that in a second, where her fear is coming from is very real and very true. But also it can be magnified because of what we're hearing from the news, from Facebook, from family, from friends about how the entire economy is going to collapse and we're all screwed and oh my gosh, what's going to happen? That feeling. And then you go to the grocery store and you're like, crap, I'm paying so much for eggs and things are more expensive. So all of that, it comes into play. So what I would do is sit down with her and just say, hey, here's the plan that we're working. And if something were to happen, which this is what we teach, you pause the debt snowball and you beef back up the emergency fund for the thing that happens, right? If there's a roof that leaks or there's something happens, you pause the debt snowball, continue to pay minimum payments, and then you fix the emergency of where it's at. So it's not like you guys are going to, go under or something. You're able to pause and be able to beef up that emergency fund if needed to pay for the emergency. So that always kind of gives me comfort knowing, okay, if something were to happen, we're not going to just continue to pay on this debt while the roof is falling in, or so, you know what I mean? Whatever the scary thing is. So that's helpful. And then a little bit of that fear of like, oh, it's only $1,000. Let's get out of debt so much faster. It's a little bit of that motivator to push through and pay it off that much faster.
Yeah, that's part of it. It's supposed to be uncomfortable for this season. Like that's just part of it. You want to get rid of it. You're the gazelle running from the cheetah. Like it's scary.
I know. And honestly, I have I'm in property management, and last summer I bought a pressure washer to go out and pressure wash houses. I mean, I'm hustling, 60, 70 hours a week in the summertime, just so I can continue kicking debt's butt. So I can always work harder and still pay off debt without, using that $11,000 and just putting it in a cushion. I don't want to do that.
No, yeah. And I wouldn't, because you guys are going to be able to you're going to be able to pay off your truck. There's things that you guys can do with this money that, again, is efficient and getting you guys that much closer to being debt-free. So have you guys gone through Financial Peace University together?
We did through our church. Matter of fact, I even helped facilitate it
awesome.
the second year. But for the longest time, we were just learning budgeting and learning to operate, our budget. And just in the last year, we finally started getting intense and getting mad.
Have y'all kind of mapped out how long it's going to take to pay off this debt? Like, what is your projected payoff date?
We haven't, honestly, no, we haven't mapped it out like that.
I would encourage you to do that, because I think for your wife, especially with the concerns and the fear around not having an emergency fund, that is real. But hopefully seeing a finish line, that can really help you drive harder and faster. It's like, we can say the why, but if it feels like, this season may last forever, we don't know when it's going to end, that can feel really hard. But to see, a definitive point where it's like, this is going to be paid off in, a year or 18 months.
Yeah, and Jason, if she sells 2 more houses, you guys are debt free at the same. You know what I'm saying? So like, you're so y'all are close. You're gonna get there. You're gonna get there.
Yeah. Okay.
Keep it up. You're doing it. You're doing a great job. Just stay the course. I know this is the time where it can be intimidating.
Yeah, and it can be scary. And I would encourage her too to you guys are budgeting together, which I'm thankful for, and to focus on what's going on in your household, because again, a lot of this fear that we're seeing out there, some of it is very real. That's, pertaining to your household. But sometimes it is just so magnified in our heads because it feels like everyone else is freaking out. So I should be the one freaking out too, right? So you want to calm that fear down with a lot of facts as well. And that's what Christina was saying. Even mapping out your debt snowball and seeing it visually is so helpful to be like, oh, okay. This isn't forever. We're not saying that have $1,000 in the bank for the rest of your life. No. You're going to be bulking that up soon. But all of that intensity and all of that focus to get this debt out of your life changes the game.
Yeah. And it's good. It sounds like you guys are pretty close to the same page, but there is that little bit of tension, and she wants it too. But Rachel, what would you say? There's so many people I feel like that call who their spouse is like totally on a different page. Maybe their spouse is like, no, crypto's the next thing. Or like Ramsey's still a 4-letter word in their house. What would you say to that husband or wife who's trying to speak to the other and get them to kind of come over a bit?
Yeah, well, money is usually never about money. I mean, like a lot of the stuff. And so there's issues underneath that I would want to get at. And so, for some of you that have been listening and you're huge fans of the show and you're so hardcore, sometimes you're the problem. And you go to your spouse and you're like, oh my gosh, we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this. And then if your spouse is like, whoa, you're like, you're not on board. I mean, sometimes it's like the legalistic person is the one that you're like, you need to chill and actually like have a relational bone in your body to relate to your spouse. So sometimes it's this feeling of like, you're trying to control me and the spouse feels controlled. So what's your approach? How are you doing that? And then the opposite is true, right? There can be, we've heard this a lot, the spouse that's just like, no, I deserve to spend what I want to spend. I don't want to be accountable to anyone. And that's a level of immaturity. And that immaturity is going to show in other parts of your marriage and your life, not just your money. And that's the problem we want to get at, right? So like there's usually underneath that, there's some underlying things, whether it's fear, immaturity, control issues, like whatever the thing is, getting underneath that layer to say, okay, because what we teach is not, well, it is crazy in the world. It is not normal. But also when you look at it, it's like, live on less than you make. If you don't have the money, don't buy it. like it's really not that crazy, right? I mean, it really is just common sense. And so I think that's part of it too, is plugging your ears on all this get rich quick stuff, all this thing that feels easy, because common sense and actually doing the work and persevering is hard. It is hard work, but you get the results. That's what's key.
Rachel. That's so good. That puts this hour of the Ramsey Show in the books. We'll be back soon.
Hey, it's Rachel Cruz. If you love the show and want a deeper dive on your money journey, we have a weekly newsletter that gives you trending and helpful articles and tips on following the Ramsey way. Just go to RamseySolutions.com today to sign up for our newsletter. Again, that's RamseySolutions.com to sign up for our weekly newsletter.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Pods Moving and Storage Studio, it's The Ramsey Show. where America hangs out to help people build wealth, do work they love, and create actual amazing relationships. I'm Ramsey personality Christina Ellis, joined today by fellow Ramsey personality Rachel Cruz. We're taking your calls at 888-825-5225. And hey, if you like the show, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with a friend. We want to continue to reach people and help them build wealth and win with their money. All right, let's go to the phones. First up, we have Nicole calling from Jackson, Mississippi. Hey, Nicole, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Hey, thanks for calling.
I am calling about potentially pursuing a doctorate degree. I'm not really sure if I can afford it. And if I can, I'm not really sure the best way to pay for it. Obviously, a loan is out of the question. So I have some options, and I'm just not sure that it's the best thing for me to do.
Okay, so what would you be studying?
It would be a doctorate in education.
Okay. And what are you doing right now?
I am in the kind of corporate training world, and that's where I would like to stay. So the degree would be in instructional design.
And what will this degree do for your career? I feel like there's a lot of hesitation in your voice. You said you're not sure if it's the right decision.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that that this degree will do all that much as far as, future earning potential and that kind of thing. It's more just something that I've kind of always wanted to do, just sort of for myself, whether it pays off financially or not. That's the hesitation. There's not an employer that's saying, if you get this degree, then, you're going to get this huge raise or anything like that.
What is it going to do for you, Nicole, when you say, I want to do this for me? What is that giving you?
It would just be a personal accomplishment, something that I could, that I could just look at some point and say, look at this.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again. So what does that? So you have the degree on the wall. What is that? What does that do to Nicole? What does that do?
It's something to be proud of. It's hard. It's hard work. So I think it's something to be proud
and there's a lot of other hard work out there to be proud of too, right?
That's true.
So I'm just trying to. I'm trying to dig a little bit deeper into your why and what that motivation is, right? Like, is there there's something under there that's causing you, and I don't know if that's what you've heard in the past from someone that you think that like this, that this is important. I don't know if it's from someone in your past. I don't know if this is you feel like if I have this, somehow I'm going to be more complete. Like I don't know what it is for you. But usually what we find that if it doesn't have a financial benefit, right? If it has a financial benefit, this would probably be a different discussion that we'd walk through options. But if it's just for Nicole, I think you can find that satisfaction other places that doesn't require going and getting a doctorate for something that you don't need in life.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I think that, paying for it has kind of become a sticking point is that, it is going to be expensive. And I don't mind to, save money or whatever it is that I have to do to pay for it. But I think that probably is part of the hesitation is this really the right thing to do? And then if it is, how do I map it out and make sure that it's the most?
Well, Nicole, what does the rest of your financial situation look like? Do you have any debt right now?
No, I have no debt whatsoever. I own my home. My salary before tax is about $68,000, and I have about $125,000 in retirement accounts and mutual funds and emergency funds and that type of thing.
And how old are you?
41.
Okay. And how much will a doctorate be if you just went and did it?
With the program that I'm looking at with the financial assistance that I'm likely to qualify for, it probably costs a total of about between $40,000 and $50,000.
Okay.
And how much is it per year?
Per year, it would probably be $12,000.
Okay. And is this an online program or in person?
It's a hybrid program.
Okay.
Mostly online, some in person.
Are you set on this specific school? Or are you open to other options?
No, I'm definitely open to other options.
Okay. So hearing all of this and hearing, the doctorate, it's a personal accomplishment that you're excited about. I'm kind of wondering, like, how would you feel about slowing it down? Maybe going with an online degree program, because a lot of times those can be a lot cheaper and a lot more flexible, where maybe you do it over the course of 6 or 8 years and cash flow it.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions. Is it better to do it more slowly and just cash flow it as I can? I do have some things I can sell that could potentially be enough to pay for it over a shorter period of time, but I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to go either.
Well, I mean, if there's not like a specific timeline and you're in a program that's pretty flexible, where they're not like, it's not a cohort program where you have to go with a certain group and take 15 hours every semester. If it's an online program where you just need to finish 60 credits over the course of however long it takes, then that would be up to you. Like, if you want to go a little bit faster, then maybe you sell those things so you can pay for the next class a little bit quicker. And if you don't, then you don't.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I hadn't really thought of it in those terms, but maybe taking longer, since there isn't a hurry to get it finished, maybe that would be a pretty good option to consider. Is just how long will they let me stretch it out for?
Yeah. Yeah.
I really do like being in school. I mean, if it was free, I would go forever. I would never stop.
Good for you, Nicole.
It's not free. So.
I love that you're admitting that too, that you're like, hey, there may not be an ROI. I just like it.
Yeah, I do. I like writing papers, and
that's great. Some people like taking vacations with their money. Some people want to go and get a doctorate, Nicole. So I think that's awesome. But let me just say before we hang up, no debt. Do not take Do not take retirement out. Do not be cashing out your 401k or Roth IRA to pay for it. Do not go and put a mortgage on your house, like nothing like that. This is going to be cash flowing. This is extra money Nicole has because this is what she wants to spend her money on and do it. And that's awesome. That's great. If you have the cash for it and this is what you want to do, then that's the thing about money is it's a tool to create a life that you love. And if this is the life you love, Nicole, you go for it.
Okay, I guess I could just write papers in my free time if I wanted to.
Well, also, Nicole, okay, one more just bonus tip is, I mean, maybe you even consider a second career. Like, if you love papers, if you love education that much, maybe you go work at a university. And then a lot of times when you work at a university, you can get a tuition discount of like 90%.
Oh, that's a good point. That is a very good point. I'm so glad I called when you were in today, Christina.
Yes. Of course. I'm glad you called. This was my favorite thing to talk about.
I was like, don't go to school, Nicole. You don't need it.
I just so appreciate the honesty.
I'm impressed. It's great. It's great.
We're taking your calls at 888-825-5225. We'll be right back. This is The Ramsey Show. Welcome back to The Ramsey Show. We're taking your calls at 888-825-5225. Let's go back to the phones. Next up, we have Lorraine calling from Nashville, Tennessee. Hey, Lorraine, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, thanks for calling. How can we help?
Yeah, so my husband and I, we actually live in Washington State. We're relocating to Nashville this summer. And kind of what I wanted to get y'all's input on is, what do you think is the best way to go about trying to buy a house as a first-time home buyer when we're relocating? And a lot of these mortgage companies that we've reached out to and banks are requiring job security in order to get a mortgage in that state, in Tennessee. And then at least for me, my husband's job is able to transfer, but my job's not
available for me to work at in Tennessee, so I can't get job security. And then so I can't get a job without a home, and then I can't get a home without a job.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I just kind of like stuck in a pickle. Do you guys know types of mortgages that are best for like first time home buyers?
Well, I would say number one,
living in that state.
Yeah, you're picking the best city in America coming to Nashville. So I'm so glad you're going to be neighbors with us. It's a great city. But for anyone that's relocating, I would always recommend renting for a year. Just rent for a year. Because you're going to be able to quickly see all the different parts of the city, right? I mean, like even Nashville, it's not a major city, but there's enough difference depending on which suburb, if you go north, south, east, west, like you're going to start to feel out, okay, this is what the city's like. And I don't know, I always like not being tied down to a house, especially if it's somewhere you haven't lived before. So I would recommend you guys rent for a year, and then you'll probably find a job. You'll have some, you'll have that job security going in to get a mortgage. Are you guys in a place to buy a house? Do you have debt? Do you have a down payment? What do you guys have?
Well, we're completely debt-free. We've been missionaries for the past 4 years, so we've been living off support. And so once we stepped out of ministry, we're now working full-time here in Washington. I'm actually born and raised in Nashville, so we're moving down there so I can be close to my family.
Oh, okay.
So knowing the area and everything,
gotcha.
It's not, it's very familiar to me. I'm looking at Columbia, Spring Hill, more South Nashville.
Gotcha.
So living off support has definitely kind of been a hardship in a sense of trying to save a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And then out here in Washington where we live, I mean, it's hard trying to save when our rent's almost half of our income, and just because that's just how it is out here. Everything's super expensive. So trying to save has been challenging. We're doing financial peace. We got our budget and everything like that.
So do you guys have do you have an emergency fund?
Yes, we have our $1,000 emergency fund. My in-laws gave us a gift for a down payment, but once we stepped out of ministry, we had to take some of that out for me to buy a car. But both of us bought our cars just flat out in cash, so we don't have any car payments.
Okay. So you have no debt. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
so you
followed the Ramsey steps with going to school, so we're paying for school as we go. So
awesome.
No debt in that sense. But
I'm so glad.
Just trying to save and everything has just been challenging. I hear on the show people my age like, oh yeah, I have $100,000 in savings. It's like, what? How?
I know, totally. Okay, so you have your $1,000. You have no debt. So you do not have your fully funded emergency fund yet.
Well, I thought the $1,000 was the emergency fund. I mean, that's just what we kind of been keeping for a rainy day.
Okay, so that's
so
baby step. Yep. So that's baby step one. Is that $1,000? That's your starter emergency fund. Then you're going to go and pay off all of your debt, which you guys don't have any debt. So you get to move on to baby step 3, which is saving 3 to 6 months of expenses, which is your fully funded emergency fund. So you can add to that $1,000. Let that be your springboard. And you guys start saving up a big rainy day fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses. And then baby step 3B is saving up for a down payment, because you guys don't even have money for a down payment right now, right?
We have about $6,000 right now.
Okay.
Just because we're trying to pay off that gift that his parents gave us that we had to use for my car.
Wait, the gift, it's a gift, or is it a loan?
No, they gifted it to us. So
why are you paying it back?
They gave us, no, we're not paying it back to them. We're paying it back to ourselves. Like they gave us $10,000 to use for a down payment. My husband and I, since I needed a car, we took $5,000 of that to buy myself a car. And so now we're just trying to build that $10,000 back up. But it's still a gift. It's still ours.
Okay, I hear you. Okay. So I would use that for my emergency fund. I would not use that for my down payment, because you guys aren't in that place yet. You guys need some cash in the bank for an emergency fund. And then, so that $10,000 that they gifted you is so kind and so great, but that's going to be allotted to an emergency fund instead of a down payment right now. And then you guys save up a down payment on a house. Because what happens is you move, you buy a house, you don't put a lot down, and you have no cash in the bank, and suddenly the roof starts leaking. You notice that the insulation is bad. I mean, stuff starts breaking and you don't have the money to go and fix these things, because home ownership is expensive. And so having that big emergency fund is really important before buying a home, because the most stressful thing that you can do is go buy a home and have no money and stuff starts breaking. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I'm stressed. And this house suddenly has become a burden, not a blessing that I thought. So I would really, really recommend you guys save up that big emergency fund, save up a down payment of 10 to 20% down, and then you guys buy a home. So again, Lorraine, I mean, I would still recommend renting. I mean, even though you know the area, which is great. Yeah, I just don't think you guys are going to be in a financial position this summer in 6 months. Maybe you will, but the way you were saying about your savings, how you're like, oh my gosh, it feels like it may just take a little bit. So have some patience.
Yeah.
But we're going to put in the show notes our Ramsey relocation guide. That's a link, and that's going to go through and walk you through a big checklist when you are relocating. But I think that you guys have another step. I mean, you're going to relocate, but before home ownership comes in, I would do these other things first.
Yeah, and I would take the word payback out of your vocabulary. Like with that money, like I think that just having that, like that is a gift. And if it's a gift, like put it in your emergency fund, like Rachel said, and don't have that feeling of, you owe them for some reason to allocate it a certain way. I think that they still would be rooting for you to get your fully funded emergency fund so that you can be secure when you do purchase a house. And I would also just say, like, slow down. I think you guys have been through so many big transitions going from the mission field. Now you're in Washington State. You're going to be moving. You don't have to slow down the moves, but the feeling that you have to purchase a house and you have to have everything sorted out, just the fact that you're coming to Nashville, that's a huge transition. And I think
I know my husband, because we've rented, and he's very passionate about, like, wherever we want to live, he wants that to be an investment. So my husband hates renting because he feels like he's just throwing his money away. And that's how I kind of feel sometimes too. So that's why he's pretty dead set on, I don't want to move to Nashville unless we have a house. And I'm like, do you realize how hard that's going to be? But trying to, are there any banks out there that offer relocating loans with a very small down payment? Or not even a down payment. I don't even know what's really
Lorraine, you guys are broke. Lorraine, you guys don't need to buy a house right now. You don't need to buy a house. You don't have the money. You don't have money. You just asked to put nothing down on a house. Lorraine, it's just not smart. I understand what he's saying. It feels like you're throwing money away. But that's also wisdom. There's wisdom in this, okay? And you guys, how old are you guys?
I'm 26. My husband's 28.
Okay. So listen. You have a long life to live to be a homeowner. And I'm all about homeownership. We took a call in another segment that I'm like, I think homeownership should be part of everyone's financial plan because it's smart. It's smart to own a home and build equity, all of that. But it's when you're ready. If you guys rush into this, Lorraine, it is going to be stressful. You're moving to a new place. You don't have a job yet. The tension within your marriage, everything starts to just feel like I can't breathe. All because, quote unquote, we didn't want to throw our money away. For a year, breathe. Just like Christina said, just slow down. I'm begging you, slow down. You guys are going to be okay. You're going to buy a house one day. It's in there. It's in the future. But don't rush this. This is a really, really big decision.
And Lorraine, hang on the line. We're going to pick up and gift you FPU so y'all can kind of walk through the steps and figure out what slow looks like. Slow and the right way to build wealth in the long run. We'll be right back. This is The Ramsey Show.
With debt payments and now inflation stealing more and more of your paycheck, we know a lot of you feel like you're just drowning. You're scared and you want to take care of your family, but you feel like there's just not enough money. So listen, you do not have to live with that kind of stress. But it takes this I've had it moment to try new things because change and trying new things is scary, right? We are comfortable with what we know. So in order to change, we have to have this moment of I'm done. I'm done with this. And if you're there, that means it is time to try Financial Peace University. This is our 9-lesson course that'll teach you how to beat debt and build wealth. It's everything you wish you had learned about handling money when you were younger. You're like, where was this class? I should have had this earlier. Now, nearly 10 million people have taken FPU, and they will tell you that they don't worry about money like they used to. They are in control, and that can be you too. So if you are done stressing about money, take control and start Financial Peace University at RamseySolutions.com/FPU. That's RamseySolutions.com/FPU.
Up next, we have Polly calling from Denver, Colorado. Hey, Polly, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling. How can we help?
I retired a couple years ago, and so I'm like on half the income that I usually have. And my husband is still working. He's younger than me. He's probably got another 10 years while he'll be working. We have a 401k. I have a paid retirement benefit, but I had a little bit in a 401k, so I already invested it. And I just kind of want to forget about it and let it do its thing for a while. But in the meantime, we have debt, and I've kind of been living off my card just because we go paycheck to paycheck. And I'm trying to put together a budget, and there's just a couple things. We had like $8,000 put aside for home improvements, but it's been sitting there from an old refi a couple years ago. And since we're not using it, I wanted to put it towards my card and get my balance down. But then he mentioned, well, we're going to need to pay taxes, and it might be around that amount too. So now I'm not sure if I should use it to get my card down or if I should see what we owe in taxes and maybe use it for that.
Okay.
But with such high interest on the cards, I figure it's got to be better to get that debt down. But in the process, I also found out that he's maxed out his card. So I'm guessing we're somewhere around $30,000 or $40,000 in debt.
Okay, so let's pan out just a little bit, Polly. Okay, so you are retired. You said are you pulling money from retirement every month? You said you're making about half of what you did, or is that in a pit? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm making $36.50 a month, and he brings in somewhere around $5,500 a month.
And he brings in $5,500. Okay.
Hey, Polly, before we get too deep into like the tactical, what we do with the money, where your money goes, are you still spending on the cards?
Yeah. So it just seemed like every time I went to use so I have a separate account because of something that happened in 2015. He thought he was going to leave. So we were separated for a while. So I went ahead and got my account for my own safety to have money.
Okay.
Now we still have a joint account. We're back together. It's good. But he's not on the same page with the whole financial thing. I think he's still thinking, he's working full time. He's doing really well.
But you're still spending on the card too, right? Like you said that you're living. I want you to cut those cards up tonight. Like get your scissors out and cut them up tonight.
Yeah.
Because if we pay it off, if we use that $8,000 and pay it off and you're still spending, we're going to be in the same situation in 6 months.
Yeah, absolutely.
So step one, stop the bleeding.
Yeah, exactly. But that takes care of mine, but not his. And I'm trying to get him on board, and I was hoping that Dave was there so he could tell me how to talk to a man about finances without them shutting down.
Well, Rachel's pretty good about couples and money.
Yeah.
Okay, so Polly, for you guys, do you still have a separate account, or are you guys working out of the same account?
Well, we have a joint account, but that I have access to. But then I have a separate account, and I've got a couple $1,000 saved. But I'm going to put at least $1,000 of it towards my card. I've rolled up all my change. I'm trying to sell things as I can.
Okay, so let me kind of pan up. I just want to get a full picture of you guys as a couple. So we'll not pretend that it's all separate. So all together, you guys, so you're making a little less than $10,000 a month. How much debt do you guys as a couple have?
I think it's going to be anywhere between 30 and 40. I know mine is 19, and I'm just guessing.
Okay. Yeah. And that's all on credit cards.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any card?
That's not including a camper. Our cars are all paid off.
Okay. How much is the camper? How much do you have left to pay for it or pay on it?
Two or three. I don't remember what the payment is, and I still need to find out some information from him because he does all the bills. But I've been trying to put together a budget. It was $40,000 a couple years ago, so I imagine we're paying at least a couple hundred on it.
Okay. Any other debt? What do you guys owe on your home?
We owe $411, and it goes anywhere between $500 and $624 when you look at the value online.
Okay.
But we've refinanced too many times.
Yep. Okay. So here's the deal, Polly. We are going to help you tactically. We're going to give you Financial Peace University. We've been giving that away all over the show, but really, if you can get your husband, you guys to do this together, these end lessons tactically, it's going to help you walk through all of this. But I think one of the bigger problems is that, in a marriage, if one person is trying to, fill in the hole of debt to get a flat ground level, of trying to get out of this financial hole, but the other person is digging at the bottom, then it's not going to work, right? And that's why we really stress for couples to work together. So I know that he's hesitant, but there has to be something in him, Polly, that knows we're not in a great situation. My wife is retired. I'm coming up on retirement age here in the next decade. We still owe $411,000 on our house. We are living paycheck to paycheck. We are depending on credit cards. We have $40,000 of credit card debt. We have a camper. Like all of this, there is a level to him that's going to feel that. He knows.
Yeah,
he knows.
I'm sure deep down.
And so what
not
you want
ready to talk about it.
And that's it. So that's where we always say it's not just a money problem. There is a marriage issue that you guys are not united, and probably not just in money and other things. And so if you do have a great church in the area or a great therapist, marriage therapist, I mean, I'm not kidding. If there's any way to go and get a third party involved, this is the time to do it, because you sitting there trying to convince him may or may not work. I don't know. I don't know your marriage, but I think for him to know where you're at, all you can do is control you. And Polly, I think it would be probably a helpful conversation and a very maybe intimidating and vulnerable conversation, but to come to him and say, hey, here are the numbers that I've seen. I've tried to pull, what we have, and this is the situation. And I am scared. I am freaked out. I feel like we should be further along than we are at our age, and I don't know what to do. And I would love it and long for you to come with me on this journey and us do this together, because I want our future as a couple to be stress-free and to be bright and to go and do these incredible things that we want to do at retirement. This is what we want to do. But I think what you're going to start to find is that there's a lot of marriage stuff under that you guys may need to heal from, that 2015 situation that happened. And I think that's a great thing. But starting out this and opening the door when it comes to money and that conversation, I think is really, really important, Polly. But
Polly, I think you need to take ownership for your part in it. He's not the only one digging this hole. You're digging it too. And you need to stop with the credit card and also just look at you and what you can change. We'll be right back. This is The Ramsey Show. Welcome back to The Ramsey Show. Our scripture of the day comes from Proverbs 10:12. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers over all wrongs. Our quote of the day is, hate is too great a burden to bear. It injures the hater more than it injures the hated. That is Coretta Scott King, wife of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. All right, Rachel, I want to go back to that last caller really quick and just kind of wrap that thought up. So she mentioned she wished Dave was here so that she could have a man's perspective. But as I thought about it, I'm like, I think if Dave were here, he'd kick her butt. He would be pretty frustrated because she's sitting there talking about her husband and what her husband is doing wrong. But she has more debt than her husband, and she's still taking on more debt. And I just think that's such an important call out for couples who are trying to get their spouse on board with Financial Peace University, who are trying to get their spouse out of debt. Make sure you are first setting the example. Make sure that if you want your spouse to stop using credit cards, that you stop using credit cards first. Right?
Yeah.
Like, don't just point and say, we need to make all these changes, because that basically what they're going to hear is you need to make changes. I don't need to change.
Yep. Totally.
And with her situation, I know there's, like you said, they need to go to a counselor. There's probably a lot of trauma and fear and all of that mixed in. So yes, that's all true, but lead the way yourself. Show your spouse, what you want them to embody. Don't just point fingers, because that is going to be one of the number one way man or woman is going to put up a wall. If you're just saying you, and you're not looking at yourself and saying, how can I improve?
For sure.
That wall's going to be up.
And I do think, Polly, what I was feeling too from her is I don't think she knew what to do. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They have these bills. All she knows is to use a credit card. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think for her too, she was like, I know I need out and I don't know what to do to get out too. You know what I mean? So that's why I was like, even tactically, we can't like dive in. I mean, you would cut up the card. You would say, here's the budget, and anything that once the money runs out, we're done. Like we can't pay on anything else. We're going to cut expenses. We're going to work ourselves getting out of debt. Like that's the tactical side. That's how you do it. Which is, and again, we gifted her Financial Peace University to do that. But I think go ahead. Well, I was going to just say that, in her situation, and I think some, especially if you're a new listener, it's like, okay, I keep doing the same thing over and over again. This is the result I'm getting. I don't like the result I'm getting. So what do I do next? You know what I mean? So I love that you called it out though, to say, okay, the first thing you have to do is you have to stop going into debt. If you want to work your way out, you can't keep going in.
Well, and part of it is to come at it humbly. Say like, I've screwed up. I am screwing up. I'm spending on credit cards. You're spending on credit cards. Let's lock arms and let's do it together. Like before you worry about his reaction and what he's going to do, like admit, I'm overwhelmed by this. I don't know. I'm scared. I'm still spending on this. And what can we do together and make it like a together thing versus us,
pointing fingers.
Right.
Totally.
And we have a really great article we'll link in the show notes about money and marriage. So if you are kind of in that situation and you're trying to figure out how to navigate it with your spouse, check that out. All right, let's go back to the phones. Next up, we have Greg calling from Virginia. Hey, Greg, welcome to the show.
Hello, ladies. Thank you for taking my call.
Of course. Thanks for calling. How can we help?
My question, I'm 59 years old, looking to build a house. A little backstory. My spouse and I have gone through FPU. I've coordinated it on 4 different occasions. Our income monthly, you're welcome. Our monthly income is north of $9,000 a month bring home. Retirement accounts, we're north of $950, and that's invested in traditional and Roth IRA 401ks.
Good for you, Greg. Well done.
We're saving north of $6,100 a month.
Nice.
Cash on hand is north of $210,000.
So you're baby steps millionaires.
Yes, ma'am.
Woohoo!
Congratulations.
Thank you. It wouldn't have been for Dave and his teaching, we wouldn't be. Looking to build a house that's probably in that $650,000 range, plus or minus. We bought property, paid cash for that. We built a shop, paid cash for that. Put a road in, paid cash for that. We put a septic system has been installed, and that was paid in cash as well. We just need to dig a hole and build a house. I feel like a hypocrite, telling people to get out of debt and being successful doing so. And now we're looking at biting off this chunk. Now, with our income and our commitment to a budget and paying it back, I suspect we'll hold on to a mortgage for no more than 5 years, and it would be paid off. We have no other debt. aside from this pending mortgage. And I wanted your opinion as to whether we're nuts or not.
Whether you're nuts or not. Well, you know us. We would always say that the best way to buy a house is 100% down, which I know is not realistic for a lot of people. But when it comes to a mortgage, you know this, Greg, because you've taught the class of the 15-year fixed rate, all of it. I mean, but you're well under that with the 5 years of what you think you'll be able to pay off. What's your house worth now?
Actually, we sold the house we had. It did not have a mortgage. We sold it for $440. Put the money in the bank and add to it every month, and that's how we've been able to pay for the land and the shop and the road and the septic out of cash, but adding to it every month.
Gotcha. But that's where the 210 comes from then.
Correct.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it will be hard. You're in baby step 7 currently, so you'll go back a baby step, which again, it's like, you hate to do that. But we have talked to people that they're like, I'm going to take out a small mortgage and we're going to pay it off quickly. And here's the plan. And here it is. And so I think, Greg, if that's what you guys decide that you want to do, that's totally up to you guys. I mean, for some people, they're like, I never want debt again. Like once I'm in baby step 7, I'm not going back. But we've had people even here that have done that. They've paid off their house and they're like, you know what, we want to upgrade a little bit. So we're going to take on a small mortgage and do that. And so where you are financially, I think you're in a position that you can, Greg. I mean, you're going to be okay. You guys have done incredible with retirement. The cash you have on hand, you guys are diligent savers, putting so much away per month that you were saying. And it's going to be in 5 years. Yeah, you'll have it paid off. So I don't think
we do have a fully funded emergency fund. And do we continue to save for retirement? I mean, honestly, right now it's the match because we're both fully vested. On my plan, if I invest 6%, they match at 9%. That gives me 15% that you're 100% vested in.
Well, we don't include their match as part of the 15%.
Understood.
Okay.
So should we bump both of ours up to 15% of this juncture? My opinion, and I'm probably wrong here, the more we're saving for retirement, the less we're able to pay cash on a house. And so it's it's probably a draw either way. I just want to know what your thoughts are, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would say, where you guys are with retirement, the amount that you have, I would still hit that 15% if it were me. And then whatever you have left is where you would go for the house, what you would put towards the house.
That's good, Rachel. All right. Well, thank you for your call, Greg. We're proud of you for being a Baby Steps millionaire. And honestly, I would work through part of feeling like a hypocrite is going to be if you keep that private. You're teaching your FPU classes. I'd be willing to share that. I'd be willing to say, hey, y'all, this is our situation. And we're in it with you again. We are going to be paying off this debt. We're going to be working through it and just be honest about it. Part of that icky feeling that you might feel is if you feel that shame and you're like, oh, I can't share this because it's going to change things. It's not. Just be honest. And then you're back in the FPU class and you're with them through this process.
That's right.
And y'all, I just want to call out, we've got a Ramsey Solutions newsletter. If y'all are worried about heating and gas bills, the newsletter this week is going to be 11 ways to save on your heating bill. So go to RamseySolutions.com/newsletter. That puts this episode of The Ramsey Show in the books. Thanks to the people in the booth, Emily, Ben, Austin, Zach, and Andrew, and to you, America, for listening. We'll be back soon. This is The Ramsey Show.
Hey, it's Rachel Cruz. If you like what you heard in this episode and want to know more about getting started on the Ramsey baby steps, go to RamseySolutions.com and click the Get Started button. We'll help you figure out the best next step for you based on your specific situation. That's RamseySolutions.com and click Get Started.